Let's go ahead and talk about WWE NXT No Mercy 2025. We kick off the show with the first match of the night. It was Javon Evans versus Josh Briggs, a one-on-one. In this match, it was a pretty good opener. It was back and forth and everything between these two guys going at it back and forth. Javon Evans almost picked the win a couple of times, but then Josh Briggs starts beating him down, countering a lot of Javon's moves in this one. But at one point, we actually see Josh Briggs taking control of this match, hitting a chokeslam onto Javon. Javon kicked out at 2. At one point, he hits the clothesline from hell onto Javon. He pins him, but then Javon had his foot on the bottom rope, so he got rope breaks. So yeah, the pin had to get broken up then. And then we see Josh Briggs about to climb up the top turnbuckle to try to hit moonsault onto Javon, but then Javon grabs onto his ankle, not letting go, and then he screams out "nah" to Josh Briggs multiple times, and he starts pushing him and slapping him and everything. And then we see Briggs grabbing him by the throat, trying to hit a chokeslam onto Javon, but then Javon counters a chokeslam into a cutter onto Briggs, and then he springboard off the top turnbuckle with another cutter onto Briggs, pinning him for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Javon Evans defeated Josh Briggs tonight in a pretty good opener for NXT No Mercy. Pretty good match though. For that match, I'll give it 3.5 stars. That's why I'll give it a pretty good match between both of those guys. But yeah, that's what happened there. Great opener between those two guys. But yeah, there's still a lot more matches to come later on tonight. We're going to be seeing Femi defending the NXT Championship up against Ricky Saints one-on-one later on tonight in the main event. Not only that, we're going to be seeing JC Jane defending the NXT Women's Championship up against Lola Vice later on tonight. The NXT Speed Championship will be defended and a lot more stuff. So yeah, there's still a lot more stuff to happen on NXT No Mercy. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT No Mercy, we get to the next match of the night. Now, Lainey Reed was supposed to be facing Sol Ruca for the NXT Speed Championship, but she is not medically cleared, so now she gets somebody else to take her spot. So yeah, it was the NXT Women's North America Champion and Speed Champion Sol Ruca with Zarya at ringside versus Jada Parker one-on-one for the NXT Speed Women's Championship. So yeah, Jada Parker has answered the challenge, and she comes out there, and we get this match underway. It's only 5 minutes in the title match. So yeah, we get to this match, and this match, it was pretty good for the most part. It was back and forth and everything. Both women ended up outside the ring. At one point, Jada Parker hits Hypnotic onto Sol Ruca outside the ring. She picks her up and tosses her into the ring, but instead of going into the ring to go pin Sol Ruca, she starts arguing with Zarya, and then she pretty much pushes Zarya, and then Jada turns around. She sees Lash Legend, so yeah, Lash Legend is at ringside, and she tries to hit Jada, but Jada moved out the way, but Zarya spears Lash Legend, and then that's when Jada gets into the ring. But as soon as she gets into the ring, she gets hit with the Soul Snatcher by Sol Ruca, and then Sol Ruca pinned her for the 3 count. So yeah, Sol Ruca defeated Jada Parker tonight in a one-on-one match to retain the NXT Women's Speed Championship. So yeah, that's what happened there. Sol Ruca retains the title, and yeah, pretty good match for the most part right there. For that match, I'll give it 2 stars. So I'll give it a good one between Sol Ruca and Jada Parker there. But yeah, that's what happened there with Sol Ruca retaining the title, and she still got 2 belts. But yeah, still to come later on tonight, we're going to be seeing Ricky Saints challenging Femi in the main event for the NXT Championship. The NXT Women's Championship will be defended later on tonight, and a lot more stuff is going on later on tonight as well. Blake Monroe versus versus Jordan Grace one-on-one in a weaponized steel cage match, and a lot more stuff. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT No Mercy, we get to the next match of the night. It was Jordan Grace versus Blake Monroe in a weaponized steel cage match. So yeah, we get to the steel cage match, and this match, it was a pretty damn good one. Both of these women was beating the hell out of each other, going back and forth and everything. They brought in a lot of weapons, trash cans, tables, steel chairs, even diamonds was in this match. And yeah, they were slamming each other on diamonds in this one. That's what Blake Monroe introduced in this match. At one point, we actually see Jordan Grace zip-tied to the ropes, and then Blake Monroe pull out a pair of scissors and starts cutting Jordynne Grace's hair off, like a good bit of it. And yeah, that's what happened there. And Jordynne Grace starts beating the hell out of Blake Monroe after that. And yeah, it was just back and forth and everything. But then both women ended up on top of the steel cage because it was a table set up, and both women was going at it on top of the steel cage, slapping the hell out of each other and everything. But then we see Jordynne Grace managing to grab a crowbar, and it looks like she was about to hit Blake Monroe with that crowbar, but then Blake Monroe threw like dust or powder into Jordynne Grace's face, and then Jordynne Grace pretty much was like, she kind of got off the steel cage but still on the top turnbuckle. So yeah, she was still up there, and then she was grabbing on a Blake Monroe, and Blake Monroe looked like she was trying to hit like a power bomb or power driver off the top turnbuckle through the table, but Jordynne Grace continued fighting on. She manages to pick up Blake Monroe up on her shoulders, and she pretty much hits White Noise off the top turnbuckle onto Blake Monroe through the table. The Avalanche White Noise at that, pinning her for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Jordynne Grace defeated Blake Monroe tonight in the Weaponized Steel Cage match. That's what happened there. Pretty great match though. For that match, I'll give it 4 stars. That's what I'll give it. But yeah, Jordynne Grace picked up the win over Blake Monroe, and it looks like this feud between Blake Monroe and Jordynne Grace is now over. So yeah, that's what happened there. Great Weaponized Steel Cage match right there at No Mercy. But yeah, actually before that match, we did see like a backstage segment, but this happened on NXT where we've seen Joe Hendry getting interviewed, and then Dark State interrupting him, and Dark State was pretty much telling him that if he gets in their way, they're going to take him out as well. So yeah, that's what happened there. But yeah, still a lot more stuff to come later on tonight on NXT No Mercy. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT No Mercy, we get to the next segment of the night. But before we talk about that one, we got to talk about a backstage segment where we see the NXT General Manager Ava talking, and she pretty much announces that she was talking to Santino Marella about TNA and NXT and everything because of what happened this past episode on NXT earlier this week with TNA invading NXT and all that. And she was talking about how they finally came up with a conclusion that on October 7th, NXT will have a special episode, and that will be NXT Invasion. It will be NXT versus TNA, and they'll have 2 Survivor Series type of matches, you know, the 5-on-5 elimination match. They're going to be having that, and not only that, they're going to be having Dark State versus the Hardy Boys for the NXT Tag Team Championships and the TNA Tag Team Championships as well. Winner take all match. So yeah, those matches was announced for NXT Invasion, which will be on October 7th on the CW. So yeah, that's what's going to be happening there. Those matches was announced, and they'll be announcing the participants for the Survivor Series type of matches on NXT this upcoming Tuesday. So yeah, that's what happened there. But then after that, we see Lash Legend. She came out there and she was talking about how, you know, she will be leading the women's locker room in this NXT TNA Invasion, and she says that, you know, she will be better doing that as well. And then she starts talking crap about Jada Parker, how she took the spear and all that, and she says that it was worth it because Jada Parker lost the match, and the outcome's Jada Parker, and both women starts brawling because Jada attacks Lash Legend from behind, and then referees had pull apart. So yeah, that's what happened there. And then after that, we get to a backstage interview when we see Laney Reed getting interviewed, and she was talking about how she couldn't compete tonight because she got injured during training yesterday. And yeah, she was talking about that, but then all of a sudden Lola Vice comes up, and Lola Vice tells her that she'll have her time eventually. And then Laney Reed was talking about how she hopes that Lola Vice will lose her match. And yeah, that's what happened there. And Lola Vice was talking about how she's going to break Laney Reed's leg instead of it being injured if she keeps on talking that mess. So yeah, that's what happened there. But yeah, up next we're going to be seeing Ethan Page defending the NXT North America Championship up against Tavion Heights. One-on-one up next on NXT No Mercy. So yeah, that match is up next. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT No Mercy, we get to the next match of the night. It was the NXT North America Champion, All Ego Ethan Page versus Tavion Heights, 1-on-1 for the NXT North America Championship. So yeah, we get to this match, and this match, it was a really good match. It was back and forth and everything. At one point, we actually see Ethan Page continuing to go after Tavion Heights back a lot of times in this match, because at one point they ended up outside on the on this ramp thing going to the ring, and at one point Tavion Heights got hit with a back body drop on there, and then after that, that's when Ethan Page was going after Tavion Heights back a lot of times in this match. But then we see Tavion try to fight back, and he had an ankle locked on at one point onto Ethan Page, trying to make him tap out, but Ethan Page fought out of that. And then both guys ended up there on the top turnbuckle going at it and everything, and Ethan Page continued on going after the lower back of Tavion Heights. But like I said, he was up there on the top turnbuckle, but then we see Tavion Heights hitting a avalanche power slam off the top turnbuckle on Ethan Page hitting the avalanche power slam onto Tavion Heights off the top turnbuckle, and then that's when Ethan Page rolls through, hitting Twisted Grin onto Tavion Heights, pinning him for the 3 count. So yeah, Ethan Page defeated Tavion Heights tonight in a 1-on-1 match. And yeah, Ethan Page retained the NXT North America Championship. So yeah, pretty great match between Ethan Page and Tavion Heights right there for that match. I'll give it 3 stars. That's why I'll give it a pretty good one. But then after that match ended, Ethan Page was still in the ring, and then he gets interrupted by Dr. Wagner Jr., and he pops up on the big screen, and he says that he got his eyes on Ethan Page, and he says that he's going to come after him pretty soon. So yeah, that's what Dr. Wagner Jr. said to Ethan Page, sending him a message there. But then after that, we see Miles Bourne getting interviewed backstage, and Miles Bourne was talking about how he had enough of it with Alexis King and everything, and how he dealt with them this past Tuesday on NXT. But then he says that the crowd and fans has been behind him and everything, and he says that he's going to continue on fighting on. He says that he's going to be in that invasion going after TNA. So yeah, fighting for the NXT fans. So yeah, that's what Miles Bourne said there. Pretty good babyface promo from him. But yeah, up next it will be JC Jane defending the NXT Women's Championship up against Lola Vice, 1-on-1 up next. And still to come later on tonight, we're going to be seeing Femi defending the NXT Championship up against Ricky Saints later on tonight in the main event. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT, we get to the next match of the night. It was the NXT Women's Champion JC Jane with Fallon Henley at ringside, Fatal Influence versus Lola Vice, 1-on-1 for the NXT Women's Championship. So yeah, we get to this match, and this match, it was a really good match. It was back and forth a lot of times in this one. A couple of times we see Fallon Henley keep on distracting the referee and getting involved in this match. But at one point we actually see Lola Vice hitting the back fist onto JC Jane. She pinned her. 1, 2... Fallon Henley drugs the referee out of the ring, but the referee didn't call for a disqualification, but they kicked Fallon Henley away from ringside. So yeah, Fallon Henley had to go to the back. And then the match continued. At one point, we actually see JC hitting a running knee to the face onto Lola Vice, pins her, but Vice kicked out at 2. And then they just continued on back and forth between these two women, and JC Jane coming up a couple of times, almost picking up the win and retaining the title. Same for Lola Vice, trying to win the title as well. Back and forth and everything. But then we got to the ending of this match where we see JC Jane hitting a discus forearm onto Lola Vice. Lola Vice is still standing, bounces off the ropes with a back fist onto JC Jane. But then Lola Vice falls out of the ring. And while the referee was distracted and everything, taking out the Women's Championship because JC Jane was trying to use the Women's title to try to cheat and cause a disqualification or whatever, while the referee was dealing with all that, all of a sudden we see another woman coming up, and she is wearing a hoodie and everything. You can't see her face or anything like that. She comes up hitting like a running knee to the face onto Lola Vice, and she runs through the crowd, and then Lola Vice barely made it back into the ring by the count of 9, and as soon as she gets back into the ring, she gets hit with a discus forearm by JC Jane, getting pinned for the 3 count. So yeah, JC Jane defeated Lola Vice tonight in a 1-on-1 match to retain the NXT Women's Championship. That's what happened there. So yeah, JC Jane retains the title, and then Fallon Henley comes out there, celebrating with JC Jane, and yeah, it wasn't even Fallon Henley that done that at all, and it was someone else. So yeah, the identity did not get revealed tonight. But yeah, they cost it Little Vice the match, and JC Jane did retain the title. But yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good match, though. For that match, I'll give it 3.5 stars. That's what I'll give it. But yeah, up next it'll be the main event. It will be the NXT champion, Femi, versus Ricky Saints, 1-on-1 for the NXT championship in the main event of No Mercy. So yeah, that match is up next. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT No Mercy, we get to the main event. It was the NXT champion, Femi, versus Ricky Saints, 1-on-1 for the NXT Championship. This is the main event of No Mercy. In this match, it was a pretty good one. It was back and forth and everything. Both of these guys coming up near falls a couple of times in this match. At one point, they go outside the ring, going at it and everything, and Femi cleared off the announce table. He was trying to powerbomb Ricky Saints through the announce table, and they're standing on it, by the way. And then Ricky Saints fought out of that powerbomb and managing to hit a DDT onto Femi on the announce table. Femi rolls off the announce table, and then that's when Ricky Saints grabs him, kicking off of the announce table with a tornado DDT onto Femi outside the ring, taking him out. And then at one point, Ricky Saints gets up on the ring apron, but he gets hit with a massive chop to the chest by Femi. And then Oba gets into the ring, and he hits the pop-up powerbomb onto Ricky Saints. He pins him 1, 2. Ricky barely kicks out at 2, and then Femi was trying to hit him with another pop-up powerbomb onto him, but then Ricky Saints counters it into a DDT once again, and he grabs Femi, kicking off the ropes with another tornado DDT onto Femi, and then he pinned him for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Ricky Saints defeated Femi tonight in a 1-on-1 match to retain the NXT Championship. That's what happened there. Really good match between those two guys. For that match, I'll give it 3.5 stars. That's what I'll give it. But yeah, Ricky Saints is the new NXT Champion. But yeah, really great match right there for match of the night. It was probably the main event or the weaponized steel cage match between Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe. But yeah, that was NXT No Mercy. It was a really good show. For a whole show, I'll give it 9 stars. That's what I'll give it. It was a pretty good show. But yeah, that has been my WWE NXT No Mercy 2025 reviews. Like, subscribe to TNW Wrestling on YouTube, subscribe to my other channel, Word of Chris, and subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my social media accounts. It'll all be down there in the description box, and I'll see you guys later for this Monday's Monday Night Raw reviews. See you guys later. Till then.